Hello and welcome to FIA Pure Motorsport. On this week's episode, we'll introduce you to some successful women in motorsport. We'll enjoy some long gravel roads in Finland with the historic rally teams. Plus, we'll check out the FIA European Autocross Championships from Prerov and much, much more from the FIA world of motorsports. The Lahti Historic Rally is the only gravel event on the calendar of the FIA European Historic Rally Championship and is reminiscent of the legendary Thousand Lakes Rally. No wonder that 49 cars have registered, 15 of which will fight for championship points throughout the season. There are 2 legs with 12 stages ahead of the teams. They have to complete a total of 157 kilometers. Carl Wagner and Gerda Zoyner are looking to capitalize on the fact that championship leader Zippo and Dennis Piccino had elected to not compete in Lahti. And the Austrians in their yellow Porsche 911 SC have a good start into leg 1 and are on a charge for maximum points. But then they have problems with the gearbox. Eventually, Wagner manages to get back to the service park in 1 gear, but they do not manage to fix the problem and have to retire. It's a big opportunity now for Siegfried and Renata Meyer to go for maximum points in Category 3 for cars built between 1976 and 1981. The Meyers are pushing hard on day 2 and win with their Volvo 244 the category and take 7th place in the overall standings. Right behind them is the Ford Escort twin cam of Ernie and Karen Graham. But for the Brits, it's less about the overall standings than about the overall victory in Category 1. These cars are built before 1969.
Crest into long 3 right over crest. Crest into long 3 right over crest. Long 3 coming up.
Leading after day 1, their Ford Escort is unstoppable on day 2. The couple wins all 6 stages and secures their 5th success in Category 1 this season. With this win, they extend their overall lead in the category. The closest duel at the Lahti Historic Rally is between 2 Ford Escort RS 1800s in Category 2 for cars built between 1970 and 75. Will Graham and Michael Johnson in their Escort with start number 10 take the best time on stages 6, 7, and 9. But falter Christian Jensen and Eric Peterson in their Escort with starting number 5 counter every good time from the Brits. The Norwegians win stages 8, 10, and 11 and are only 0.1 seconds behind Graham and Johnson before the last stage. On the last stage, the British team gives everything once again. They're 7.3 seconds faster than the Norwegians on stage 12 and secure the victory in Category 2 and 4th place overall. 3rd place overall belongs to Anders and Ingrid Johnson from Sweden in their Ford Sierra RS Cosworth 4x4. 2 Finnish teams are fighting for the overall victory and the win in Category 4 for cars built between 1982 and 1990. Vili Silvasti and Risto Pittalainen in their Audi Quattro achieved the fastest time on stages 11 and 12. But it's not quite enough. In the end, they are only 1 minute behind their compatriots Kari Kivinen and Asko Saarinen. This Finnish team is also driving an Audi Quattro. After day 1, they already had a lead over the second Audi Quattro, and on the first 3 stages of day 2, they laid the foundation for their success by being 20 seconds faster than Silvasti and Pittalainen. They win the Lahti Historic Rally among the EHRC contenders. Silvasti and Pittalainen extend their lead in the overall standings with 2nd place. Anders and Ingrid Johnson finish in 3rd. In recent years, the proportion of women in motorsport has increased. Drag racing can be a good model for further development. In no other motorsport discipline do women play a greater role than in the FIA European Drag Racing Championship.
We have never separated women from men. We always race together. So there's no difference if you're a man or a woman. And you know, when you put the helmet on, there is no difference. So I think when you do that from the beginning, from the kids are 8 years old starting to race, or you know, just growing up on the track, your mindset is that there's no difference. There's nothing stopping you to being at that highest point or doing whatever you want.
Ida Zetterström is one of the best top fuel dragster pilots. There are and always have been successful women, especially in the top discipline. Heide started her motorsport career in junior drag racing, and even now you find more girls than boys there.
I think it's both a mental thing for the riders, but also for teams and sponsors and everything. As a sponsor, you will never have to think, ooh, will a woman be able to handle that? Just take a look, like they're all over. So.
It's pretty normal for women to be here. I never had to prove myself. Never. It's just like more acceptable. Maybe in other motorsports, women really need to fight for it. But here, it's for me. I'm only speaking personally, but it's always accepted. I'm doing my thing.
Ellen Lindgren is team manager at Vector Racing. Besides her regular job as a purchaser and planner, working for the racing team is like a second full-time job, because in the team she takes care of everything from season planning to managing safety equipment and spare parts to working on the race car.
We are multifunctional, we all do everything together, so we can't do without each other. The sport we are in here is quite familiar. It's very a family business. That's also how I started. My parents did it for years. I grew up on the racetrack, and I'm still here. And how I ended up here, it turned out that way. I've always loved to be around the racetrack. I always loved to be around the cars.
With a love for racing, that's how most careers in racing start. It was no different for Jessica Lundgren.
It started with my dad. I ended up being in his garage, and I started to like cars and became a member in a car club.
This year, the Swede is the FIA Chairman Steward at the dragster event at Santa Pod Raceway. A career that would not have been possible without the right environment.
I ended up asking the organizer if I could be at the race and work, and he said yes, of course. And I ended up to be a pit crew. So that's how it started. About 93, I think, I started there. And I thought it was so much fun. Girls and boys running and competed at the same terms. So I think that's really, really nice.
Jessica is pretty easygoing and a good communicator. Qualities that help her a lot in her job, especially when she has to explain to a competitor why he or she is not allowed to compete or is disqualified.
So I'm holding the meetings, and if I get a report from the technical delegate or something like that, I have to do a report and tell the competitor my decision. If I'm calm and nice and can explain it right and easygoing, then they are really nice back. They can argue with me, but they usually not get that upset.
She enjoys her job and the community and wishes for more women in her field.
Just have fun. And if you are really committed to what you want to do it. Don't be afraid. You are so welcome in this sport. Everybody is, and that's the fun thing. Even us girls are so welcome. And have fun.
Constanze Metzner started motorsport at the age of 17. She raced hovercraft and then came to drag racing.
Then I stepped into drag racing as staging lanes chief in Hockenheim. And someday, just Jerry Leggy, the race director from the Hockenheimring, asked me, Connie, why don't you do scrutineering? Because you're a master in car mechanic, that would be up to you. And I said, yeah, what do I have to do for it? And that's where it all started.
The German is now working as the FIA technical delegate.
Oh, we are taking care of the drivers and the cars. We're looking for the safety. We're looking for the regulations so that we have a fair level for everyone in the competition. And the good thing is, you're still on the technical side. You always have to be on the technical side and always be updated. And you get in contact to the drivers too. So it's right in the middle. That's the thing I like, to deal with people and also be on the technical side. It is very good to be like an engineer or car mechanic, so you can understand what's going on in the engine and in that whole thing. But also you have to be very respectful, you have to be very polite and have to deal with the racers, because they do put in a lot of effort in this sport, and so they need to be treated respectful.
Constanza has wanted to work on cars since she was a little girl. Her parents weren't keen on the idea, but in the end she prevailed and went her way in motorsport.
You don't have to do more than other guys have to do. It's just the passion for the sport you bring into it, and that's it. We are all equal in the motorsports. If you do everything right and you are passionate, you can step up the career.
Never let anyone put you down. You don't have to prove yourself. Just make sure go on the racetrack, get into stage and go. You are just as good as the guy next to you.
The 2022 FIA European Drag Racing Championship is at the halfway point of the season, and it's time for the famous Nitro Olympics on the Rico Antes quarter mile of the Hockenheimring. Round 3 sees the championships enter the title-deciding phase, and 40,000 fans at the Hockenheimring are looking forward to great drag racing action with the top drivers in all classes on site. Two Swedes are meeting up in the Pro Stock final. Stefan Ehrenried in the white and blue dragster will be up against Jimmy Oland in the blue dragster. Pro Stocks are powered by naturally aspirated 500 cubic inch V8 engines and run on commercial unleaded petrol. Jimmy Oland on the left, Stefan Ehrenried on the right. Both drivers with the same reaction time, and it's an extremely close race. 6.65 seconds for Oland and 6.69 seconds for Ehrenried. The multiple champion Jimmy Oland takes the win by 0.04 of a second. Before the last stop of the season at Santepod Raceway, Oland leads in the overall standings, Michael Malmgren is second, and Stefan Ehrenried is third. The FIA Top Methanol classes combining Top Methanol Funny Car and Top Methanol Dragsters. These cars have 3,800 horsepower and top speeds of over 410 kilometers per hour. In the final, the number 1 and 2 qualifiers Sandro Bellio from Belgium and Johnny Lag from Sweden will face each other. Bellio in the orange funny car is the slight favorite, but Johnny Lag with the win. Bellio at the start with an incredible reaction time of 0.093 seconds. But Bellio's Monte Carlo funny car drifts to the wall. The reigning champion has to lift, and that makes it possible for Lag to come back and claim the win in 5.46 seconds. In the overall standings, Bellio is only 12 points ahead of Lag. The two will decide the championship between them at the last event. Let's move on to the Pro Modified class. In the first semi-final, Michael Turin in the gray car meets David Vector. Vector has problems after the start and can't make up the deficit at the end. In the final, Turin meets another surprise finalist, Anders Arnover. The Estonian, who qualified 9th, had a bye run in the semi-final. Turin on the left, Arnover on the right. An extremely close final. Arnover had the end time of 6.023 seconds, while Turin crosses the finish line after 6.020 seconds. As a result of a better reaction time of 74 thousandths of a second, Turin claims the win. The first victory for the pro Dutch racing driver in an FIA race. Arnover reduces the gap to leader Jan Eriksson, but David Vector in third place also wants to have a say in the race for the title. In the first elimination race of the Top Fuel Dragster Championship, Susanne Kallen meets Ida Zetterström, the leader in the overall standings. Zetterström with the better start, but with problems afterwards, the win goes to Susanne Kallen. After a good start, the dragster of Ida Zetterström loses traction and breaks the blower belt. An early exit for the favorite. In the first semi-final, Antti Horto from Finland and Jöndia Erbacher from Switzerland will face each other. It's the only event Erbacher is taking part in this season. The run is decided at the start line as Erbacher immediately loses traction, handing the win to Horto. But victory comes at a high price for the Finn. He suffers severe engine damage and cannot take part in the final. That's why Susanne Kallen, who had a bye run in the semi-final, is alone at the start in the final. Nevertheless, she can be happy. Only this year has she returned to Top Fuel Dragster. It's her first final in 20 years, and she celebrates her first victory this season. Antti Horto takes the lead in the overall standings, Ida Zetterström slips to second place, and Susanne Kallen also is hoping for the title again. Excitement is guaranteed at the last event of the year at Santa Pod Raceway. At the penultimate stop of the ADAC Formula 4 season at the Lausitzring, Taylor Barnard wants to take advantage of Kimi Antonelli's absence to make up for points on the championship leader. And the Briton succeeded. In the first of 3 races at the weekend, he finished second behind Nikita Bedrin, who won his first ADAC Formula 4 race. In the second race, Barnard drove away from the front and was able to celebrate an unchallenged victory. The Pole Kasper Stuka secured second place with a nice move against Bedrin. The third race started with a reversed grid. Barnard was in 8th place on the grid, but he quickly worked his way up. After only a few minutes, he overtook Zachary David for 3rd place. Then he passes Nandhavud Birambakti and overtook Rasmus Utzimis to take the lead. The second win capped a successful weekend for Taylor Barnard at the Lausitzring, who cut the gap to Antonelli to 34 points. The 4th round of the F4 Japanese Championship took place in Suzuka. In both races, Yasuke Matsui with car number 7 was able to celebrate a lights-to-flag victory. With his 2nd and 3rd successes of the season, Matsui passes the previous leader in the overall standings, Shun Koide. Koide finished 2nd in both races and is now 1 point behind Matsui in the overall championship standings. For some people, the tires used in Autocross are the jack of all trades, an all-in-one solution suitable for every condition. Not only are the surfaces different in Autocross, but the weather conditions vary from track to track and can go from extra dry hard surface to a mud festival in a matter of minutes. The trained eye immediately recognizes the asymmetric pattern. It's designed to provide superb traction and excellent cornering stability.
So the Autocross tyre is the Cooper M&S. It has an asymmetric tread pattern, so it can be used in any position around the vehicle. The compound has a very broad operating window, so it works from cold at the start of the race and provides good performance until the end of the race.
Philip Carter is a materials development engineer for Cooper Tires Motorsport. Although it's just the 2nd season of competition in European Autocross for the British company, they've utilized their background in rallycross and rally to develop bespoke European Autocross tires.
So in developing the Autocross tyre, some of the factors we look at are the vehicle they'll be used on, such as power and weight, and also the characteristics of the tracks that they'll be used on.
The tires are designed and manufactured in the UK, but only 1 specification is permitted per size, and a total of 4 sizes are used in FIA Autocross. So no wonder the all-around talent is a little bit heavier.
So one of the reasons the tyre is quite heavy is the depth of the tread is quite deep, and that provides good performance over duration. The Autocross tyre has to work together as a system, so the tread compound is very important. To provide good grip from the start and durability. The sidewall of the tyre is very important for puncture resistance.
Versatility and durability are 2 important qualities for Autocross teams. The mostly hobby drivers do not have unlimited budgets and are happy to keep the cost of tires low and still get excellent performance. This is another reason why they work so closely with the developers at Cooper Tires.
Driver feedback is one of the most important areas of tyre development. The driver, is the person that has to use the tyre at the end of the event.
But the drivers also benefit from this partnership. Technical support is provided by Cooper Tires at each event to monitor and work closely with competitors to optimize tire performance. Pressure and temperature are monitored throughout the weekend.
We provide teams with recommended pressures and camber ranges the tyre operates best in, and then we also provide drivers feedback from visual and data taken from their tyres with temperature pyrometers.
A situation from which everyone benefits, the drivers and also Cooper Tires. The FIA European Autocross Championship enters the decisive phase of the season. The 7th stop of the season takes place in Magnum Cross Arena in Prerov, Czech Republic. The FIA Cross Car Academy trophy contenders reach the halfway point of their season. The young drivers are between 13 and 16 years of age and drive with identical equipment. Italian Valentino Leda, winner of the Matschenberg, has the best start. He's ahead of Stanislav Brusek and the championship leader Miguel Galloso Vasquez. A few laps before the end of the race and the order hasn't changed. Leda is still in the lead, but Brusek in second place is attacked by Vasquez, and the Spaniard manages to overtake the Czech with a nice move on the inside. His next target, leader Valentino Leda, who is the biggest rival for him in the championship. Vasquez increases the pressure on the Italian. And in the penultimate lap, Leda with a mistake, he falls back from 1st to 8th place. A bitter moment for Leda, who had everything under control until then. Miguel Galloso Vasquez is now leading the race, a lead that the Spaniard will not relinquish. Stanislav Brusek finishes in second in front of his home crowd, and the German driver Samuel Dreves manages a good 3rd place. With his second win of the season, Vasquez extends his lead in the overall standings. Stanislav Brusek moves up to 2nd place, and Valentino Leda slips to 3rd. This season, the fight for the title in the junior buggy category is a Czech duel between Arnost Florian and Daniel Petlun. This duel is also the focus in Prerov. The two competitors have the best start. Petlun takes the lead in the blue and white buggy. The championship leader, Arnost Florian, is right behind in his orange and blue buggy. Christian Zgrenchus from Latvia is sitting in 3rd place. Florian manages to get closer and closer to Petlun, and in the 4th of 7 laps, his time has come. Arnost Florian passes his compatriot on the inside. He quickly gains a safe lead, and in the end, a sovereign victory for Arnost Florian. Daniel Petlun finishes 2nd. Malone Foyada moves up into 3rd place. Florian extends his lead in the overall standings. Daniel Petlun is now already 28 points behind. Toyn van Asten remains in 3rd overall. In the buggy 1600 category, 3 drivers get off to a great start. They're all heading for the first corner at the same time. Championship leader Kevin Peters takes advantage of his good position and takes the lead. Right behind him is local favorite Jakub Novotny, who was the best driver in qualifying in front of his home crowd. Steen Jaspers, one of Peters' biggest rivals in the fight for the title, is sitting in 3rd. The battle for the top spot remains tight. In the corner before the finish, Novotny gets a little bit too far outside. Jaspers wants to pass, but the Czech tries to keep up with him and spins the barriers. The end for Novotny, who wanted the win in front of his home crowd. Without him, Kevin Peters and Steen Jaspers are able to pull away from the rest of the field. Both drive the race home with confidence. It's the 4th victory of the season for Kevin Peters. Steen Jaspers comes in 2nd, and Thomas Kristall gets important points for the overall ranking with 3rd place. Kevin Peters leads with 55 points ahead of Thomas Kristall in 2nd place. Steen Jaspers closes the gap to the French driver. In the Super Buggies final, Peter Nikodem, the leader in the overall standings, has the best start in his buggy representing the Czech colors. He controls the action from the very beginning. In the early stages, another Czech, Zdeněk Antony, is in 2nd place. He tries to defend his position, but has to let Bernd Stube, who is 2nd overall, pass him. And his compatriot, David Horak, also overtakes him and secures 3rd place. However, Nikodem is alone in the lead. A dominant win, which is of course very special in front of the home audience and broadcast on Czech television. Bernd Stube comes in second. Johnny Foyada, another title contender, only manages 5th place. In the overall standings, Peter Nicodem leads with 26 points ahead of Bernd Stube. Johnny Foyada is sitting in 3rd place. That's it for today. On our next episode of FIA Pure Motorsport, we'll introduce you to Ferrari Driver Academy driver Maja Voigt. We'll crown the world champions in karting and have great cross-country action from Baja, Poland, and much more. Till next time, take care, everybody, and ciao.